Hey everybody. Today is September 15th, 2020. I normally do these videos a little earlier in the day. It's 11 a.m. right now. But today had to get pushed because the world is crazy at the moment. Kids aren't in school. We're in the state of Washington. Remote learning, I guess what they're calling it, learning from home is happening. So in the mornings, our two kids are both on different computers doing like Zoom classes, gobbling up the Wi Fi. My wife is teaching kindergarten for the next couple of months online, so she's in a different room online with kindergartners, which is just as difficult as it sounds. So there's a lot of Wi Fi needs in the Sherwood household early in the morning. But usually around midday, there's a break from that. And so I can now use some of the Wi Fi without crashing their Zoom calls for education. So I figured that would be the courteous thing to do. So that's why it's happening a little later today. Yesterday, we did a wonderful little workout called the Seven, which is a hero workout in memory of some CIA officers who lost their life. And it is a brutal and yet at the same time deceptive workout. I mean, you should see it coming, but it still catches some people off guard because it doesn't look quite as bad on paper, even though it should. And what makes it so deceptive is how it's broken up. It's 7 rounds of 7 movements, and each one has 7 repetitions. And so when you look at it, and it's just 7 of whatever it happens to be, you're like, oh, it's just sets of 7. I can just blitz through this thing's not going to be a problem at all. Even though it calls for thrusters at 135 pounds for the gentlemen, 95 pounds for the women. So there's 49 thrusters at that loading in there. There's a deadlift in there at a weight heavier than the Diane weight, so 245 for men, 165 for women. So you're going to do 49 deadlifts at a weight heavier than the Diane weight in the same workout that has 49 heavy thrusters, and you're going to get interference from 7 sets of 7 handstand push-ups, so 49 handstand push-ups in there, more than in Diane, which has 45. Handstand push-ups are not going to help the thrusters, I'm here to tell you. And then you're going to go ahead and do some knees to elbows, blow up your grip, blow up your midline, and then you're going to take that grip and midline, pull the deadlifts. That's not going to go well. Then you're going to finish the deadlifts and have to do just 7 little innocent burpees, not over the bar, not over the box. But after everything that you've just done, you're shocked at how slow you move for 7 burpees. And then when you finish that, maybe your grip and midline's recovered a bit. Why not hinge at the hip a little bit more? Grab a heavy kettlebell, 70 for the men, 53 for the women. Do 7 swings with that little jewel. And then, hey, the grip comes into play once again for a set of 7 pull-ups. That finishes out a round. That's just 1 round. And then you're going to do that 7 times. And so it's very obvious as to why this is one of the most deceptive yet grueling workouts out there, and why scaling is probably going to be your friend, because there's big weights, there's handstand push-ups, etc., etc. And so I scaled the workout yesterday, and there's a bunch of ways to scale this. And this is somewhat of a video of scaling, the actual how I did the workout, but more of a kind of honest confessional into things that go on in my mind, even though I try to communicate these messages to everyone to put them on a better path. I'm still human. I still struggle with my own demons when I scale and whatnot, and I feel pressure from various things to make good or bad decisions. And in the moment, it's really easy to cave into those pressures. And in hindsight, it's obvious how dumb and irrelevant they are. But again, I'm human, so in the moment, when I looked at the 7 yesterday, I was warming up, and I had every intention of doing those thrusters at 135 pounds. I knew from the get-go I was not going to do the handstand push-ups. I don't do handstand push-ups. They don't treat me well. It's a fantastic movement. Obviously, you shouldn't bash your head into the floor like a knucklehead. You should have some sort of strength and control so that you're not doing that to your cervical spine. But wonderful, strong, controlled handstand push-ups are a phenomenal movement, but they don't work for me with my ridiculous things that have happened to my body. No, none of CrossFit's fault. So I was going to do ring dips in place of the handstand push-ups. Get in some pressing in a different direction, but I would not be shortchanged. So 7 ring dips per round. And then, like I said, I thought that was the only thing that I was going to scale. And I had every intention as I warmed up to do that thruster at 135 pounds. I've done plenty of 135 pounds thrusters in my life, and I figured 7s is just a grind. So I'm just going to warm up and get it going. And as I warmed up, I did the empty bar for a bit, put 95 pounds on, did a few of those, put 115 on, do a couple of thrusters at 115, till I finally threw on the 135. And I put on the 115, and it was heavy, but okay. Heavy, but okay. And I was like, oof, geez, 20 more pounds for 49 repetitions with the deadlift and everything else. This is going to be awful. Awful's one thing, but awful and stupid is something else. Awful that's just a grind is one thing, but awful and, inappropriate, that's not what we're looking for. So I had to rein myself in with the same advice that I give everybody else, but again, it's really hard for me, even though I give this advice to everybody else, and I had to tell myself, could I do the workout at 135 for the thrusters? Probably. It would take a very long time. The sets of 7 would get broken up undoubtedly, but I would have that amazing CrossFit feeling at the end, right? That when I make my post on social media and everyone can see that I did the thrusters RX, that I did them prescribed, and then I would get this admiration and, validation from people around the world because it's cool that you did it RX'd. And, it's as sad as it is to say, there is a draw in that. Like, how ridiculous is that? This is just honest, real talk. How ridiculous is it that sometimes it may run through your mind of not necessarily what's best for me personally to do this workout, but what will others think when they see how I did the workout? It's a really easy trap to fall into. I've fallen into it for sure, and I have to make a conscious decision every day that I'm making the best decisions possible for how my body feels that day, how I slept the last couple nights, what muscles are sore, what aren't sore, how did the warm-up go, how do I feel, and then make the best decision possible for me. And everybody feels that pressure, and maybe I shouldn't, but obviously, I have, I'm recognizable to some degree in the CrossFit community. I've been around for a long time, and whether it's fair or not, I can feel a certain pressure that I have to live up to some sort of expectations because, just whatever. Been around the community for a long time. I've been doing CrossFit for 15 years. Guy was a former, um, did his time in the Navy. Like, there's some expectations there. And so, of course, you're going to have to do the workout prescribed, of course. And you should do it really fast and prescribed every single solitary day. And that I'd be lying if I said that pressure didn't get to me every now and then and potentially influence decisions that I make. And that's stupid. It's negligent, quite frankly, and irresponsible. And it takes conscious pressure for me to push that away. And you can fill in the blank with whatever factors you have in your life. Your buddy that's going to look at your workouts, somebody else who, that you compete with, whether you should or should not. And you might make decisions as to how you're going to approach that workout, not based upon what's best for you, but some other irrelevant social peer pressure factors. And this is just my plea to everyone that I suffer from that too. It takes effort and discipline, and I hope that you make the best decisions possible. So what I had to tell myself yesterday, and I tell myself this every now and then, just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should do something. So could I have done the 135 thrusters? Yeah, and they might have looked okay in round 1 and 2, and they probably would have been despicable in rounds 5, 6, and 7. But just because I can do them doesn't mean that I should. And I had to swallow that pill yesterday, and it's probably, a pill that most of us have to take more regularly than we'd like to, and it's tough to swallow. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to do it at 115. That'll be I mean, who's going to be shortchanged from 49 thrusters at 115 pounds? And then I said, you know what? If I'm going to scale, let's scale the darn thing. So the heck with 115 pounds, which feels okay in the warm up. But the warm up for the sevens is in no way, shape, or form indicative of what your performance will be like or how you'll feel in the middle of that disgusting beast of a workout. So I said, you know what? 115 is probably not even the right call today. 95 feels great in the warm. Feels fantastic. Feels light and breezy. And now I know from experience that if 95 feels light and breezy in the warm up, in round 5, I'm going to be huffing and puffing in a pool of sweat going, thank goodness I didn't go heavier. So I said, all right, look, we're going to go 95 pounds. We're going to go 95 pounds. I'll keep a couple 10-pound plates in close proximity so that in the unlikely event that I just turn into Miko Salo in the middle of the workout, and 95 pounds I'm just laughing and giggling in rounds 4 and 5 as I throw it overhead with ease, I'll bump the weight up. Well, of course I did not grab those 10-pound plates. And of course, in the workout, when all of a sudden I had to do ring dips and knees to elbows and the deadlifts and the burpees and the kettlebell swings and the pull-ups, 95 pounds on that barbell for what turned into 49 thrusters was 100% plenty of work. Plenty of work. So, swallowed my pride, did it, and had to tell myself, who cares? I'm not working out to impress anyone else in the world, not working out to impress or to get a certain number of likes on social media, although that is an addictive drug, and you got to push yourself away from that. And I would encourage people, kind of what I tell myself every now and then is, what is the decision that you would make? How would you scale the workout if social media didn't exist? No Facebook, no Instagram, no whatever it happens to be. If you lived in complete isolation, let's say that, nobody was ever going to know the time of your workout. Nobody was ever going to know the loading that you chose. So there was no bragging about it in any way, shape, or form. So you felt no external pressure. Whatever decision that you would make for your fitness in that isolation sort of setting is probably the right decision to make, because you're just making the decision based on what you need to do to have a great workout that day. And if you can keep that mindset in one way, shape, or form, this, isolation mindset, so to speak, and then make those decisions, you're probably going to have a healthier, happier, more productive, more pain-free, more tweak-free, more injury-free experience for weeks and months and years. And then CrossFit will be great for 5, 10, 15 years. And that's what we want, right? We just don't want anyone bragging about their accomplishments this month. We want you to be doing so well that 12 years from now, we're still talking about, hey, how are the workouts going? You're like, great, feeling good. So anyway, that was a demon that I had to battle yesterday, and hopefully it's relatable to some people in some way, shape, or form. We all deal with it, no matter how much we even try to give advice to others, no matter how long we've been doing it. You're human beings, ego gets in the way, social media gets in the way, odd pressures get in the way, and it takes more discipline than I hate to admit just to make what should be a simple and easy decision. And I will also tell you the plan that I had yesterday, that also the 7 had no regard for my plan, and they just squashed it into the ground. I said, look, 7 rounds of 7 movements, 7 repetitions of each. I mean, it's just so beautiful. All the numbers are the same. Let's keep with this beauty, and here's what I'm going to do to keep myself on a nice pace, because a 7 is not a sprint. So I don't mind walking from one movement to another, because I'm going to need that rest. I said, I'm going to allow myself 7 breaths. How great is that for all the numbers? 7 breaths, and then I'll start the next movement. So 7 ring dips, 7 breaths as I walk over to the thruster bar, do my 7 thrusters, 7 breaths as I walk over to the pull-up bar to do the knees to elbows. On breath number 7, start the knees to elbows, and that'll be great. I don't see any reason why I shouldn't be able to keep that the whole workout, right? 7 slow and controlled breaths sounds like a ton of time. That plan survived round 1. It survived round 2, and somewhere in round 3, 7 breaths turned to 9. There was an 11 in there at some point in time, and in round 4, I just threw the breath thing out the window. And the other thing, which I had to giggle to myself and watch as it just disappeared. So my wife, who's profoundly fitter than I am, I've been very open about that, she did the workout prescribed in 24 minutes and 2 seconds. So that means since she did it prescribed, and the prescribed loading is 135-pound thruster for men, 95-pound for women, that her and I did the same thruster weight yesterday. So she did the handstand push-ups, I didn't, I did ring dips, then we both used the same thruster weight, and she still beat me by 3.5 minutes, and it's all good. And at the end of round 1, I did round 1 in 3 minutes, and I thought to myself, I did some quick math, some quick ninja math, and I said, 3-minute pace, 7 rounds, I'm on a 21-minute pace for the 7. I don't care if I scale this weight or not. I'm going to beat my wife. This is a fantastic day. And at the end of round 2, I was at about a 3-minute and 30-second pace, slowed down a bit. At the end of round 3, I was at a 4-minute pace. I think I kept a 4-minute pace for round 3, round 4, and then it slid a little bit more. And anyway, long story short, I finished my scaled version in 27 minutes and 36 seconds, having modified the handstand push-ups to ring dips, having modified the thruster weight from 135 to 95, and the question is, in my scaling, remember I contemplated going 115 with the thruster at the beginning. Did I in any way, shape, or form feel shortchanged? Absolutely not. I was head to toe devastated. Total systemic devastation. Scaling is cool. Pressure not to scale from any sort of social factors is dumb. In general, you should do things that are cool and smart and not dumb. So that's it. I hope everybody enjoyed the 7. Today is run a 5K. You're welcome. I do it because I care. I do it because I want you to be well-rounded. And I do it because the last thing you need today is go below parallel, go overhead, pull from the ground, or expose your body to any weight. So that's it. Have a great day, and we'll talk later.